Our never-ending hunt for innovative content led us to an incredible book called Toronto Graffiti. Flipping through the pages of the book, a woman from Chile with an illustrious career named La Bomba caught her eye. Paula Gonzalez, commonly known by her artist name of La Bomba, isn't just a documentary videographer, a bass player, a hip-hop MC, and a social worker. She also has been painting graffiti around Toronto for over 20 years, winning Best Graffiti Artist in Now Magazine's reader poll various times. We had the pleasure of meeting up with La Bomba to see an in-depth look at graffiti around Toronto.
It's a very complex kind of urban phenomenon, right? Graph, and the whole idea of where it started or whatever. There are many debates. There are academics who will say, oh, graffiti started in the caves in France, where people did sketches with charcoal and that kind of thing. Other people will say graffiti started after World War II, when a lot of the soldiers that were flying fighter planes would paint their names underneath the planes. Another person could say graffiti started, late 60s, early 70s in the South Bronx, in the Latino and African American communities where there was so much poverty. You look at Manhattan, Manhattan's rich. People are eating, they're caking, right? And you're in the South Bronx and blown out buildings and abandoned lots. You want to express yourself, right? So some people will say, yes, graffiti started there. In my case, I'm Latin American. I also come from a very rich and dense cultural history of muralism, right? Many countries in Latin America, and actually in Europe as well, grow up with what you see on a daily sort of basis. The visuals that you would see out there are actual murals, In North America, we've grown up with a lot of publicity and advertising. That's our main thing that we'd see outside, But in Latin America, muralism is a historic art form that's not only beautiful for people to look at, it's inclusive, it includes everyday people on the wall, and it represents the diversity that was happening all throughout, from Mexico all the way south.
One of La Bomba's many talents is her ability to perfectly combine the power of graffiti with charitable social work. We sat down with her and discussed one of the projects that she is most proud of.
The Graffiti Transformation Project was housed and is still housed at Christie Ossington Neighborhood and Family Center. And the initial thing came together with the Hispanic Development Council, Christie Ossington Neighborhood and Family Center, and myself as the lead artist to do a program that would employ youth from the community, give them a startup in the arts, eradicate some of the crappy graph that was on the walls, the tags and stuff like that, and also create a sense of community unity, because at the time, this was around 96, 97 when we did this, there was just a lot of beef that was happening over at Christie Pitts Park. There was a lot of violence that was happening onto Latino youth. What do you think we should do? And I was like, yo, we should all paint murals together, because it works, man. You gotta work in a team, right? Now, granted, the first mural, so we actually put together a proposal to the city and we got the funding. And that program still runs now, 12 years later. We're into 2013 now, so actually almost 15 years later, right? So it's pretty phenomenal. The city still funds it. Youth still get employed every summer to go and paint murals. And so I'm really proud of that,
We hit the streets for a first-hand and up-close look at La Bomba's works. We visited one of her murals in Euclid Avenue, close to Christie Pitts.
So this mural particularly, what it signifies is a gigantic wave of transformation, right? So this was illegal, and we made sure that we did this on the wall here, legal, so there's no tags going up on the place, right? And it was a mural that we did for the client. I was asked to come and paint this wall so there'd be no more tags on it. So as you can see, we got three heavyweights here. We got Bomba, we got Hope, and we got Ren, who worked on this wall. And we try to do it so that it's, we use different types of blues, and really we rocked this, which is basically 2/3 of a block, and 3 stories high. We rocked it in about 2 days. There is a component, there is the vandal component, the criminal component, the outlaw on the street kind of component, and I think that's why it's so attractive to a lot of young people. That's why it's a way to kind of express yourself. Sometimes it's the only art class that you're gonna get to go to as a kid, Not everybody has after-school art programs and that kind of thing at their school, So this is it, man. This is the closest some people are gonna get to going to a gallery. They'll walk by here like, wow, look at the big painting, So yes, it's both. It's art and vandalism, to me, it just translates to one word: passion.
Our journey to see different graffiti murals brought us to Allen Gardens, where the First Nations elders had commissioned a mural that would inform passersby about the history of the Missinaba Cree land.
So this mural is one of 5 murals of 5 commissioned artists that came and painted on this boarding. My mural specifically was done with myself and my design, and then a crew of 3 other painters, which included Complex, Brother Hope, and Adrian Corey Charles, aka Mouse. The First Nations community elders that approved all the drawings were very specific in telling us their stories about the area and the history of the area, and then with those stories we designed our murals. My mural at the end of the day is about 120 feet, and what it's called, The Condor Meets the Eagle. This is where we start off the mural with the ceremonial drum. Here where we have the ceremonial staff with the medicine wheel and the eagle feathers, going around to the eagle. By the water we have a sister, our sister who represents the female and womanly spirit. She's floating over the water, and you have the moon and the sun in the back. And you continue going over to my left. Over here you see a condor. You're also going to see a Mapuche girl who's looking towards the future, representing the new generations, all the new generations of First Nations, but from Walmapu, which other people know as Chile. Right next to the little Mapuche sister, we have the Mapuche flag, which is the first Mapuche flag to ever be painted in the history of Canada here in Toronto, and it's going to be in downtown Toronto for the next 3 years. So very thrilled about that. And at the end we see the Mapuche elder beating the kultrun, which is our ceremonial drum. So what this signifies really is a meeting of both north and south over the water.
La Bomba wanted to bring graffiti to at-risk areas in the city, specifically Keele and Eglinton, where they made a mural with the help of youth in the neighborhood and veteran graffiti artists.
I got funding from the Toronto Arts Council to develop a mural at Keele and Eglinton, the southeast corner, where many people, there's just been a lot of gun violence up in the area. After working in that community for about 5 years, I just really wanted to leave a beautiful mural, you know, that would kind of open a space that was positive. When you're painting a wall, something magical happens, right? This energy just comes, and you're just all about the wall and the colors and the vibes and the beautiful things, and they start coming to life. So you kind of create a vortex of really amazing good energy, you know, and that was kind of, because that corner was so dark. People had been killed in that parking lot, just a lot of police and just a lot of sadness in the area, and I felt like I really wanted to bring in color. A lot of the funds through Horizons for Youth, which is a youth shelter for homeless youth. So the youth that came to paint were some of the youth from the shelter, a lot of local community youth, and some seasoned graph artists, which is awesome.
To finish off, La Bomba brought us to her favorite little corner of Toronto, where we find the humble beginnings of this popular art form.
This alleyway is historic, and we're looking at 4 of my favorite T-Dot Toronto graffiti artists, like who are the original old school, who are the original artists that actually got the original alleyway. Many people know Queen and Spadina alleyway as the legal graffiti alley, or it's called Graffiti Alley. Many of the real graph community will admit to the actual original graffiti alley is here in Dundas West. It stems from Dundas West over to Keele Station. And over here you're going to see 4 of my favorite artists, whom are Ren, Hope, Rekka up there, and Dazer. These 2 pieces here are historics. They've been here since the 90s. I'd encourage you guys to come here. You could actually do, it's about 3 blocks worth of graph on both sides. There's been underground kind of festival events that have happened here, and this is the go-to. Like anybody in the graph community internationally, the first spot, yeah, they'll go to the Queen Alley, but if you're a real graph writer, you're gonna come to the west side between Dundas West and Keele and check out the artwork that's here. To me, as Bomba, as the original Latina graph artist for the city of Toronto, and possibly for most of Canada, you know, I've been around for a few decades doing this art form. Graffiti represents many things. It represents the fire and the passion of the underground expressing itself, coming out to show you. It shows, it represents freedom. It represents stealth. It represents strength. It represents discipline, endurance, commitment. Graph is about the realness. It's about loving your city, trying to make it beautiful, trying to work with the design of the buildings, you know, trying to build and make it better, trying to make, you know, gray walls that look kind of crappy into like wonderful masterpieces that will be inspiring to you to want to go do stuff like make a rhyme or like go play ball and that kind of thing. We're here to sort of up the ante in terms of what a beautiful city should look like. Our cities should be covered with color, an expression of passion in our hearts rather than advertising. You know, most little kids grow up in the city, you know, looking at advertising everywhere. What's wrong with looking at colors and beautiful art? So to me, graph really represents humanity. It represents realness, and that's what I'm all about.